What's up, guys, and welcome back to the GameShow Global Esport Cup. Still loading in right now. Hopefully, it's not going to take that much longer, although it usually doesn't take that long. Just figured I would start right now and tell you guys what the hell is going on, since there seems to be a lot of confusion out there. All of the matches are best of two. If you see one that's best of one, that's because the first game, was already played on a previous date, and they're just finishing the series, so they're letting you bet on it. That's what's happening. So there's no confusion. But this one should be HellRaisers vs. Power Rangers. I'm Mikelorus. I'm with Lyrical Gangster right now, although I'm not loading in. I'm just like completely frozen here. I don't know what your status is. Oh, there I am.
Yay!
Are you here though?
I am here. I
Oh.
am one of the people in the broadcaster slot as well. So we're just waiting for the last broadcaster and last spectator to load in. Usually, when this has ended up happening, I feel like they just end up pausing the game at about the 10-second mark or so and make sure that everybody gets on into it. But I think that there have been a couple of postponed games that ended up happening and reordering of the schedule, and because of that, things can get a little bit dicey in terms of trying to keep up with the ins and outs of the tournament, even for the people that are following somewhat religiously. So that is a good thing to point out there as well. Everything best of twos at this third group stage now for this tournament. It's a really long tournament, a ton of qualifiers, a ton of group stages, and at this point in time, a lot of these teams have faced off against each other somewhat consistently throughout the whole course of these qualifiers, and I think that ends up building a little bit of familiarity with the scene, and obviously these players know each other as well from being able to play in other scrims and other tournaments, and I do really like the fact that you're able to see the sort of growth of players throughout the course of this. So pretty cool there, and I'm looking forward to another great game.
And you do get a little bit of a different draft metagame. Like, if you're just going to be playing a best of three or whatever versus some random team and some random tournament, you ban out what's strong, you take what's comfortable. But if you go into best of threes with the team, like, over the course of a very long series of games, then you get to know what they think they're comfortable with, and you know what to do to counter them. So the bans are going to shift up a lot, the picks are going to shift up a lot. You get the kind of international metagamey type style going on, and although I don't really think we saw that in the last game, it was just like just generally strong picks like Doom first pick. You could probably go right with that every single time. It's in the games too where we see maybe some adjustment. In best of two, it's a little more difficult. In best of three, it's a lot easier to see that effect.
Yeah, certainly. And I think that in this game, we're probably going to end up seeing already the bounty ban. I still think this is a bit of a strange one. Hellraisers ended up taking it last time, and I mean, I guess they ended up winning the game, so there's that. Maybe the bounty ban was really what it ended up being, but not a hero that I think is as strong as before. But they didn't really have a ton of heroes that they had to deal with and really mess them up. I felt like last game they do end up banning out the Night Stalker here as well, and Doom is going to be the hero that Power Rangers don't want to have to mess around with this time around. And they also get first pick, so going to pick up that Queen of Pain, just an incredibly strong laning hero. I feel like with that dagger on her, she's always going to be able to trade effectively with pretty much any other mid laner throughout the whole course of the laning stage, and also being able to have that big presence, when she ends up getting that sonic wave up there as well. So never a bad pick, I feel like, the Queen of Pain, unless it's sort of a last pick and you've already got 4 cores.
Axmo is pretty comfortable with this hero as well. This is going to leave quite a few powerful heroes in the pool for HellRaisers. I think Darkseer is probably a no-brainer here. You could also go with the Winter Wyvern following, alternatively Tusk, or, just pick the
Just
strong
what you
heroes
said
because
first
they're
time.
always going to do their job. And, ooh, now here's a deviation. We've been seeing a couple of teams ban out Enchantress. I haven't actually casted Enchantress in this patch yet, and in the last patch only like once or twice, but this is a very different playstyle. Where the hell... I just disconnected from the server. Okay, that was new. But Enchantress is the pick with Queen of Pain. I don't think you get any more clearly aggressive, but why am I not reconnecting? Okay, guys, I'm going to black out Dota for right now and try to fix this, but hopefully you're still in. Hopefully the draft is still going on.
Yeah, I'll give a little bit of radio Dota here since I'm not having the bandwidth. Okay, I timed out as well.
It's all over.
Oh my goodness, we're
Everyone
spreading
go
like the
home.
plague. I'm going to mention real quickly, though, the Enchantress second pick there does surprise me as well. You know, you end up seeing this hero. I'm backing on it again. So we did also see the Earthshaker banned out as well as the PL and the Puck. So the thing about the Enchantress pick is that I feel like it's really great later in the draft, sort of along the same way that a Huskar is really great if you're able to get it late, because there's not really, if you're already committed to a certain play style, then you're not really able to deal with that super effectively. And the big thing about Enchantress is obviously right click damage. She has one of the worst strength gains in the game. I think it's at 1, if I'm not mistaken. It's
Sounds
somewhere
about
around there.
right.
It's really really low, and because of that, she can be very weak to nuke damage. And with still 3 more picks here out of HellRaisers, you know, they did take the Queen of Pain, which is really great at dealing with her, but you're still looking at a hero here that probably is going to be played in the off lane and might end up getting taken down if she's not careful with depending upon what the supports and carry picks are, to be honest.
Alternatively, we could always see the good old classic Enchantress go towards the jungle, play the heavy rotation game. Maybe if they really want to go deep, grab a Juggernaut and try to do the 5-minute take all your towers type play. They do have a couple of options with this hero, but then we see the Tusk being picked up from HellRaisers. We did mention Enchantress very, very soft, and Tusk's Walrus Punch does hurt a lot. Witch Doctor also fairly soft, so it's fairly vulnerable to that as well. HellRaisers with a lot of combo potential right now, and though their damage output isn't super high, they don't really need a lot of damage to deal with these Power Rangers heroes. They're just going to grab the Anti-Mage up against these now 3 intelligence heroes. There's a lot of upside here for this pick from HellRaisers. The ability to protect the Anti-Mage is certainly there. Like, they have so many defensive skills.
Yeah, it's a really great little combo here, and I think that they're going to be in a really good spot. I will say that, you know, the anti-mage pick again, against what I'm seeing so far out of Power Rangers, you mentioned going into the jungle and then trying to take down the towers early. They definitely have the potential to do that with the Queen of Pain as well as the Witch Doctor there. 2 heroes that can fight early and often. They're going to be able to get a lot of effect out of this, you know, paralyzing cast stun there. And maybe they end up picking up a disruptor and then something crazy like a they wouldn't be doing that. They'd have to go for something else here to try and really push down towers. And with the Witch Doctor there, not necessarily the best against the Darkseer. Actually, they go way different. Spectre picked up. What the heck is even happening in this game?
I mean, when you have a Spectre, like pretty much any other game plan you have is tossed out the window. You're now on the Spectre game plan. So the Witch Doctor, the Queen of Pain, yeah, they're going to be just fine. They fit right in. Enchantress as the second pick now, kind of a little bit more of a question mark. First of all, if you do have plans to pick up Spectre, you go with Queen of Pain, you go Witch Doctor, you go Spectre. You're probably not going to have to deal with the banned out Enchantress, so you can get it a lot later. So I always never really like it when teams do that, but Enchantress just as another source of income. I mean, HellRaisers, their ability to roam around with a Tusk is certainly there, but with the Winter Wyvern and Tusk, I don't really know if they're going to want to make a whole lot of aggressive rotations in the jungle. Maybe they just want to have a nice, safe, passive game with the Enchantress, try to get a Hand of Midas, try to get Aghanim Scepter, and try to have like another source of jungling damage. That might be a thing.
I just disconnected again. Yeah, it certainly could be an option. The other thing I was thinking about, what do you think about a Lich potentially and doing like a dual off lane with the Enchantress and Lich to try and deny out a little bit of extra EXP to that anti-mage? Is that a little bit too fragile as they move into the later stages of the game?
Yeah, I mean, Spectre is already a pretty soft hero who needs a lot of protection, and armor isn't necessarily the way to do it. Granted, HellRaisers don't really have a lot of burst. In fact, their burst is really only isolated in this Tusk. Their damage output is high enough to deal with that combo, and 4 intelligence heroes up against an anti-mage, rough times for sure.
Yeah,
that might be going a little bit too deep. We have a Broodmother ban out for HellRaisers, so just trying to get that one out of Power Rangers' hands. But PR, they need a hero to actually hold down the fort, because Queen of Pain, she's great at doing that. Witch Doctor Enchantress needs someone to actually help out if they're going to be locking down the early game as well. And for offlane selection, I don't really know. Like, this is where you would really like to have a Doom or a Night Stalker or a hero along those lines. Maybe getting like a Bristleback. Like, the amount of healing that Power Rangers have is significant. They could certainly keep up and sustain a really tanky oriented hero like that, but I don't really know if that's what they want to be doing.
Yeah, HellRaisers here still also have another pick as well, so they can kind of address, while it is going to be first before Power Rangers get their last pickup, it does kind of still give them the option to address any weaknesses in their build. And at this point, they still are needing that mid-hero. I don't really know if there's really a great answer. The Wind Ranger would have been wonderful, and they actually are going to go for a Warlock. What What the hell is this game even? This is a core lock, I'm assuming. That,
Hmm.
unless we're seeing the Tusk in the mid roll, which I haven't seen in forever. But Warlock in the mid, like, you want to be able to pick this hero to be able to get up big team fight ability. And at the same time, Anti-Mage isn't a hero that wants to team fight, and they do finally go for the Disruptor. So it's going to be a solo Enchantress in the offlane. And,
Hmm.
I mentioned the Disruptor before. I think that he makes a lot of sense here in terms of being able to win the laning stage potentially against the Darkseer. Maybe Spectre's able to get a couple of points in the Desolate and bring him on back with the Kinetic Field Glimpse, and you're going to be in a pretty good spot. But again, these picks are just so wonky.
Yeah, this is definitely not your standard games selection here. Like, for Power Rangers, I think they landed at a pretty decent spot. I'm still not convinced that offlane Enchantress is necessarily a thing, since you're going to be going up against a Winter Wyvern Tusk and an Anti-Mage who can all get into your face immediately and bring Enchantress down, untouchable or not, healing sprites or not. Warlock also, the ultimate in this game, should it go off, is going to crunch Power Rangers real hard. They are not really tanky. They do have an extra bits of sustain here from the Enchantress, from the Witch Doctor. Depending on what builds they go, they're going to be more or less tanky. However, Warlock Ultimate is just going to destroy them. And when you have a Darkseer to combo and a Winter Wyvern, the lockdown is going to be enough there. I think the Power Rangers can, in some situations, put pressure on that Warlock. They're going to probably have to try to do that as best they can. But, yeah, I don't know if this is really going to be a successful draft from this Enchantress. I think this is really the only weak link from the Power Rangers side. Replace this with like a Clockwork or whoever, and I'm completely sold. But I have yet to see an offlane Enchantress really take off.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you do get the movement speed coming out from her as well. She is actually blocked on in here, so going to take a couple more right clicks. And, we're talking about that in game. It is actually one, and she only is sitting on 454 base HP. It's so freaking low. And while the movement speed is there, untouchable only at level 1. It's a 40 attack slow as well. So decent, but not amazing. And she doesn't have her heal now, so she's going to have to just run all the way back to base and heal on up again. Did get that salve before she ended up TPing into the lane, just so. And now she uses the salve.
What's going on?
What is Dota? What is going on there?
Wait, did she get? She had a salve there. She had this loadout and a salve, right? I'm not crazy. She just juggled her item placements a little bit. Am I crazy? I might be crazy, guys. I got
She
to have
used her
myself
salve.
committed.
I wonder if that's the change that you just ended up seeing with Salve, where it works differently now, and when you end up even clicking it, it's going to end up being used instead of having to do the double tap that you had to do before. Well, anyways, all right, regardless, we're seeing
ready
an
to go.
Enchantress. She's going to be there with a different amount of builds. Does have the Tango up as well now, and Afona, as we talked about, he's going to be going over to the mid lane. This is going to be against a Queen of Pain, and while you do have the potential to just continually spam on out that Shadow Word on top of her, it's not necessarily going to. I guess that's actually kind of okay, because Queen of Pain is a little bit of a squishy hero, and one of the ways that she's able to trade really effectively is by being able to have the dagger there and toss on out, right clicks against the enemy hero. But if you just lay down a DOT on her, it's kind of a bit of a pain to deal with. So this is a bit of an interesting answer to Queen of Pain. We'll see how it ends up working out, but my gut feeling is that it's still going to be a little bit too fragile.
Yeah, I mean, the Warlock is, as far as intelligence heroes goes, a fairly tanky hero. Like 2.5 strength gain is really high for an intelligence hero. Compare that to the, well, Enchantress we already mentioned has 1, and Queen of Pain has a little bit more than that, 1.7. The Warlock trades hits actually very well. His armor is 3, his range is very high at 600. I think the Queen of Pain, yeah, slightly less than 550. Why am I constantly disconnecting in this game? What the hell is going on? But yeah, the Warlock just getting into a situation where he can trade hits with that Queen of Pain is going to be benefiting him. The Shadow Word also does a deceptive amount of damage. It is damage over time, so you can tango through that and maybe you won't die, but I gotta just fully reconnect, guys. I'm sorry about this. I don't know what's happening, but yeah, Warlock is actually not the worst matchup in the world versus Queen of Pain. In fact, if you look at all the mid heroes that are usually selected, I would say Warlock's matchup versus Queen of Pain is like 50-50 at worst. Maybe even you can make the debate for like 55-45 in favor of Warlock. It's a lot better than it really looks.
Yeah, and I think that it's a very interesting answer to the problem that you're having with the Queen of Pain. I don't think that this is going to mean that she's not going to be able to get farm in this lane, certainly. And well, she does also have a little bit of, well, I should say rather, Warlock has a little bit of a range advantage by 50 there, 600 versus the 550. It's still, it's going to be interesting to see how they play. It's going to be a positioning battle. Anti-Mage does finally reconnect, and we're probably going to unpause here in just a second as you reconnect as well. So some funky stuff going on with the servers here. No real problem. Enchantress buys another salve and is going to have that brought back out to her in lane as well. Metrum, I think also here another key point is that with the Enchantress pick into the Winter Wyvern, like Arctic Burn, it only needs to hit once for it to do a whole heck of a lot of that heal burn. So despite the fact that you're simultaneously, being able to slow down the attack speed of all of these heroes, each individual attack from the Anti-Mage and the Winter Wyvern deals more damage. And on top of that, the Tusk also, once you end up getting the Walrus Punch, you're dealing a heck of a lot more damage. So the big problem is that you're not normally going to be able to get multiple continuous attacks on the Enchantress, but the one is going to have that much more effect from each of these heroes down the bot lane. So like you mentioned, a really tough matchup, and I think that she's going to have a tough time here.
And you can see the Enchantress's base stats right now. She actually has quite a bit of movement speed. I don't remember her having this much. Why? God damn it! I disconnected again. Her movement speed wasn't always that high, right? I could have sworn that was like Luna first, tied with CK or something like that. But Enchantress's survivability is in her untouchable, in her ability to heal up with the sprites, and then just avoid damage entirely just by being faster. So you just run away from the opposition. It's very hard to do that when they have Arctic Burn, so you're slowed down a lot, and then you have comparable movement speeds. Blink Dagger doesn't care about your move, or Blink on Anti-Mage rather doesn't care about your movement speed, nor does Snowball. It's going to connect 9 times out of 10. So Enchantress, just by being snowballed onto, is going to take one hit from everyone at the bare minimum, and that is enough to bring her down to like half HP because she doesn't have the armor nor the HP to really back her up there. So this is a very, very fragile situation over in the bottom lane for the Enchantress. If we're still paused, I think you could probably run through who's playing what, because I am just not staying connected for whatever reason.
Yeah, no problem. I actually ended up DCing as well, and now I'm back on into it. So Dread is going to be playing that Anti-Mage there. We do also have over here Metrum, who's going to be on the Winter Wyvern. Worth noting as well that Enchantress with no boots at all is going to have a 50 movement speed advantage over that Winter Wyvern. Goddamn is going to be playing the Tusk in the mid lane. We also have Phony, who's going to be playing the Warlock up towards top. Scoutcho is going to be playing on that Darkseer. We have, meanwhile, 4 Power Rangers, J4 on the Disruptor with a pretty cool set. We'll be able to see that one once we end up actually getting into the game. Bignum playing the Witch Doctor. Also up here as well, Tron is going to be on your Spectre in the mid lane. We're going to be seeing Axmo on the Queen of Pain. And last but not least, the hero that we've been talking about all game long, the Enchantress, is going to be played by AFK, or alternatively, I do believe that we can say that this is Cheshire Cat here.
Yeah, so hope you guys got all that, because you're going to remember it as I'm struggling to reconnect. I'm pressing the reconnect button, but it's just not doing anything. So I'll just like keep on restarting, and eventually I'm sure I'll get back in and then drop like 5 minutes later. But here we go. We actually see a loading screen. That's looking good. So hopefully this is just going to act per normal. Power Rangers do have now a defensive tri-lane up top. I saw them already drive away the Darkseer once. Spectre, Witch Doctor, as well as Disruptor. Not really the most dangerous lane in all of Dota, but up against the Darkseer, they do have necessary amounts of control, and especially up against Darkseer, who's only level 1 right now and only has Ion Shell. So Surge, his primary escape tool, not going to be that great. By the time he gets that, Disruptor should be closing on his level 2 mark as well. And again, the damage isn't super high in this lane, but it's enough to make the Darkseer really, really careful. And at the bare minimum, 2 ranged heroes versus a Darkseer, the poking is going to be non-stop.
Well, and both of these heroes really great in terms of their damage that comes out. Well, not as much the Disruptor, but Witch Doctor has pretty high base damage. And the other thing there is, I feel like Disruptor is probably one of the best counters to a Darkseer in lane. You mentioned there as well the surge to try and get away. You're not going to be able to have that happen if you're going to be able to glimpse him on back. And so it's going to be a tough lane for him as well. I think that both of these off lanes are going to suffer, and really it's going to come down to who can scrap away for the best amount of best amount of farm and even just experience that they possibly can. And so far, the winner here is going to be the Enchantress, who's already been able to pick on up level 2. So pretty solid there. You mentioned also the movement speed by her. I feel like every single patch for the past like 3 or 4, going back to 6.82 almost, has buffed up the Enchantress's move speed and made her more and more of a viable not only offlaner, but also viable jungle hero in terms of her ability to rotate into the other lanes and make ganks happen. Because I feel like that her problem in the past was that she really wasn't able to have as much of a big impact. And while the meta did favor pushing back in, like, I mean, we're going all the way back to 6.81 here a lot and talking about Death Bowl. It still is kind of tough to be able to make that happen if your hero isn't naturally quick.
That's the sound of me disconnecting again.
Rip, man. This has been a really rough one so far.
Nothing's
and it's
happening in this game. Like, we're paused. Why am I disconnecting? If there's like massive team fights and there's particles everywhere, sure, you know what, Valve, I'll cut you a break there, but literally nothing is happening. You're displaying a not moving gray screen. But I guess while I'm like constantly restarting Dota, I can actually fact check you on that. 6.82 increased movement speed from 310 to 315. 6.83 increased movement speed from 315 to 335. This hero can move, man. And then of course a little bit more recently in the newest patch, you get an additional 1 spirit per level, so you get a little bit more healing at every level of Nature's Attendance. And Impetus, no longer a unique attack modifier. I don't think that's going to be relevant. Is there any sort of sick combo that I'm missing with Impetus? Probably not, right? I guess like sometimes you get Mask of Madness, so you get extra lifesteal maybe?
Yeah, lifesteal is one thing. I think that's probably the best, and it just means that you're going to be able, like, you don't lifesteal off of the impetus is the big thing, because you're not going to be you're not going to be lifestealing off the pure damage, but you lifesteal off of the right click, and that's not really a huge component of the damage there. Maybe you could argue that something like Scotty is pretty good. I think Scotty is probably the best one in terms of your ability to continue to sort of chase on down there, but again, it's not necessarily, and I guess Scotty is really great all around because, like we've mentioned 70 billion times so far this game, her real weakness is her inability to sort of survive in a fight. And Scotty, that natural tank ability, you get the extra attack speed, everything really works well. I'm also going to mention now that the Enchantress, with all the buffs that she got, has higher movement speed than a Crystal Maiden with boots, and I think also is going to have enough high, at least equal movement speed to this Winter Wyvern once she ends up getting her boots as well. So freaking fast this hero is.
Well, she is a deer. I guess deer are pretty quick. She's
Yeah,
like
man.
small also, so she's not like Centaur, so she's got like the 4 legs and really big. So I guess it kind of makes sense. Ice Frog is taking giant steps to make this game more logical.
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely the biggest part of Enchantress's kit, is that she's super logical here. What is this actually? If I'm taking a look, it looks like she has a staff between her legs down on the ground there.
Whoa,
Is that
whoa,
like...
whoa, we don't go there in this stream.
Not exactly sure. She's definitely going to be wearing like the Lynx cap in this little set right here, which is freaking awesome. I really like that one a lot. Are you back in the game as well? Are you going to be
No,
able
I'm
to...
stuck on the loading screen, dude.
Right, well, then this just sounded terrible, what I'm talking about
Yeah.
here.
What is that between her legs? It's like a staff or something. I wonder.
Yeah, but level 2 picked up by her as well already in the off lane. I'm really surprised that
Are
she's
they
able to
playing?
get that. No, they're not. They're not
Okay.
playing. We're still paused here. I'm not exactly sure what's going on in the game, but still having some troubles, not only with the server, but apparently also with, I think, TS that's going on, or Skype, whatever they're on. It's across the board. Ooh, and there's another disconnect there. Dread keeps having trouble, and he keeps dropping out. So a little bit of a boon for everybody watching the game is that they're not actually going to be missing out on anything, and we're going to be able to sort of sit down and maybe theory craft a little bit more about where this is going to end up going. I think that, you've mentioned a couple of times also the massive amount of int heroes that we've got here, and it is going to be 4 that's going up against the anti-mage. So that's kind of a tough little combo here as well. And, Enchantress, while she does also have a 2.8 int gain, this is going to be a really high mana void target. And I think that you should be able to make it happen, although she doesn't have a ton of spells that cost mana. Impetus, once you get that level 6, starts to really rack up.
Like, it only costs, like, what, 50? Yeah, 55 mana per cast. But she only has 300 mana, like, right now. Obviously, she will have a little bit more at level 6. I'm finally in, but for how long I don't know. Enchantress very quickly tends to run out. Oh, and I'm out. Great. Look at that. She runs out of mana very quickly is the point I was trying to make, and you guys are just gonna have to take my word for it. I was going to actually show everyone the cosmetic you were talking
Yeah.
about, because I hope it was a cosmetic you were talking about, but I guess I can't. Game just
Yeah,
not letting
it's a
me.
little bit too bad. It's hopefully a cosmetic and not an anatomy class. There's a couple more pings coming out on the map. People are somewhat frustrated about the current state of the game. It does look like they're actually going to try and go here in a second, maybe. A couple of calls for goes, and they are going to unpause, unfortunately. But I'll be able to do a little bit of radio Dota in the meantime. We do have Cheshire Cat here continuing to just sort of try and last hit, and they haven't really been able to punish this at all, as we mentioned. Level 2 on her in the mid lane. Warlock still getting a little bit out last hit so far. 4 and 4 versus the 3 and 2, so not terribly so. But the big story actually is the Anti-Mage hasn't gotten a last hit through the first 2 waves here now, and Enchantress taking a little bit of harassment starting here at well. She's going to be able to pop the spirits. Goddamn, as well as Metrum on the Winter Wyvern and the Tusk are going to be able to do a good amount of damage, but she's just actually outright clicking them right now. And because she has the untouchable aura up, they're not going to actually be able to trade with her. And goddamn got really, really low on the Tusk and is going to have to hide on off over in the trees. And Clarity, or excuse me, Tango on up as well as she moves on over to try and rune control for her mid player. So Axmo having a decent time in lane as well. 8 and 4 versus the 6 and 2 of the Warlock. Just going to try and trade a couple more last hits here, and the Queen of Pain can sort of do that since she was able to take the high ground again. Are you getting any closer to getting back into it, or is it just?
I don't know. I'm just like stuck on the loading screen. I'm really glad I have a good loading screen, but shit, man, this is like not happened in the past couple days. Not happened ever, in fact, for me. I'm gonna blame Reborn. I'm gonna blame Valve on this one.
I think that's the safe move.
Yeah.
As we sit on up here again, we're just sort of seeing the back and forth in this lane so far. And while we are seeing the Enchantress get a good amount here, there we go, you're back on into it. The Anti-Mage has actually been able to get a good amount as well. But you see here the amount of damage she's been able to lay out on each of these heroes in turn. All of them are really low in the safe lane. And we're going to actually have to see the Tusk go all the way back to base because he's been run through all of his regen already.
And the Enchantress is still sitting pretty, although has run out of her own regen, is just poking at Dread. There's a lot of chip damage going on in this bottom lane. There's not much chip damage being returned. With the Arctic Burn, first of all, it has a really long cooldown, so you can't really have it up all the time. But also, with the Untouchable, I don't really know how many shots Metrum can get off with this. It is going to be maxed here. That's the primary source of survivability here from the Enchantress. But here comes the Pain. Tusk going to come in, still does not have a snowball. Shards are going to land, put AFK in the corner. But Arctic Burn so far only fired off 2 shots, and it seems like the damage just wasn't enough. AFK can turn around, back on the Metrum, do a lot more damage to the enemies than she took. God damn, now in a lot of trouble. He's gonna fall. That's first blood for the Enchantress. She's now completely out of mana, but look at the damage output. She's only shooting for 65, but it's sure as hell doing enough. Metrum and Dread just on the run. Okay, I'm sold. Offlane Enchantress, OP. They're onto Metrum, and look, they just can't even do anything to her. That was disgusting, dude. I don't even know what's going on anymore.
She's got 385 movement speed right now. It's absolutely ridiculous. Like, you take a look now at the boots advantage that you've got here, and Metrum, not anywhere near being able to get boots, is sitting at 100 movement speed disadvantage right now. It's like a Bloodseeker in this game, but it's a little deer just prancing around with the little link cap on as well, and it's so freaking terrifying right now. The off lane, meanwhile, for the Radiant is going significantly worse. But the big question I have is, how do they transition this into actually being able to be an effective hero? Like, you can do really well in the lane, but she's not able to deny out a ton of farm to the Anti-Mage, and I'm not sure if she's going to be able to have a huge presence as the game goes on.
Well, you know what? She's forcing 2 support heroes to stick in this lane, which means Queen of Pain now getting into a fight with Affinage is going to have a great time trading hits with that double damage rune. She's taking a lot of... I disconnected again, but I'm assuming she's going to survive that. Maybe.
Yeah, she survives the Shadow Word. She's got the DD still up as well, and she's going to be able to bottle through it. Also worth noting, the Enchantress now has a bottle as well, so she's level 4 currently, is going to be able to just continue to hit away at these creeps and at the heroes as well. Like, we see here Dread trying to trade hits, but even though he's able to take away the mana from the Enchantress throughout the whole course of these engagements, it doesn't really matter because she's got a bottle on up, and she's actually bottle crowing now over the Queen of Pain because the Queen of Pain is able to sort of consistently get rune control by nature nature of that blink, the Enchantress is going to be able to bottle Crow. And it is worth noting that, you know, she's making these supports really do their work, because otherwise, if they lead the lane, Dread just straight up dies, I feel like. But now 4 heroes down bot for the for the Radiant. It's leaving the offlane completely alone.
It is also worth noting that this Enchantress was a second pick, so HellRaisers had pretty much their entire draft to prepare for this. Double Ion Shell is coming in. That's the answer you want. Magic damage, but the shards are going to miss. Snowball is not, however, still going to connect. Can they body block her enough? With these spirits, it's just not doing any damage. In fact, now she's going to turn on back to shots with Axel coming in. Sonic Wave on the Darks here. That's a second kill for Power Rangers. They also know exactly where goddamn is. Bignum is going to be in range for a cask. Oh, is actually going to misclick a little bit and is not able to get his cask off. But that's still Darkseer making his rotation level 3. So super low level Darkseer trying to go into a now level 6 Enchantress. The poke damage was a really bad. But now it's just so much worse. Is this just a dead safe lane here for HellRaisers? Because it sure as hell seems like it.
Yeah, she can just chase after this anti-mage now. He is dead. He's dead. Yep. Oh god, there's the bounce through the blink. Apparently not going to really be able to do it, but he can't do anything right now. You know, the anti-mage doesn't really have high HP to begin with, and the fact that he, you know, you want to be able to go for that Battle Fury right away, that is going to leave you not with a ton of stat items right now. He doesn't have any Ironwood branches. Oh, are they going to be able to catch here? That's going to be J4 in a lot of trouble. It's going to be able to lay down a little bit of damage, as well as the Haunt getting tossed out as well. Goddamn, taking a good amount of damage, but Queen of Pain here is here as well, and she's going to end up taking down the Darkseer. Tron is going to be able to take out Goddamn in a second, I believe, as long as he's not able to TP away. He can trade completely and totally effectively. Misses the Scream of Pain, but it doesn't matter. Spectre's getting free farm. Spectre's getting killed. 101, just exactly where you want to be. Power Rangers is looking so strong in this game.
And their draft is just working for them, as the internet is not for me. I disconnect again, but let me know if anything goes on. But the Enchantress on the offlane, again, we mentioned how she's just keeping the supports from the Radiant side down there. These supports are getting very little in this game, and the offlane Darkseer had to rotate out. Like, going for that attempted gank on the Enchantress is not part of the plan for Darkseer. You want to stay in lane for as long as possible. You only leave if you're getting completely smashed, and that's what happened. So he's not having a great time either. The Warlock is a very powerful hero, very bursty. Once you get your level 6 up, you can do a significant amount of work. Can you do 4 heroes amount of work? I'm not too sure about that.
Well, and the other thing here as well is, you know, I mentioned what is it that they're actually going to be able to get out of this Enchantress, and I think the real answer is that they're going to be able to get a ton of farm on the Spectre, and that's going to be huge. She is going to be able to pick on up this Urn. That's what she's going to be going for first on the Spectre, and we do see the rotations. This is going to leave the Anti-Mage again very vulnerable. He takes a ton of damage anytime he moves into lane, but we do see up in the top lane now the Darkseer and the Tusk sitting behind the creep wave, waiting for their opportunity to jump forward. Warlock has level 8 actually. He's rotated over as well, but we see Tron just hanging out way back in the woods, not wanting to contest this at all. He realizes that the ganks were coming. 4 heroes have rotated top, which is going to leave the Anti-Mage completely alone, moving on over towards the mid lane now. He left the safe lane. He doesn't want to be there anymore. So they're going to be able to take this tier 1 tower up top, I think, at this point in time. Darkseer is going to try and cut the creep wave. There's Tusk over here as well. They're actually going to be able to toss out the shards, not finding Tron this time around, but kind of a weird little engagement here. A ton of heroes rotating up top. It's leaving the safe lane alone, and now Enchantress is just going to be able to take down the tier 1 tower and probably move on into the jungle and take that as well. Like, she's not afraid of anything at this point in time, and the fortification isn't going to keep the tier 1 alive down bot, and honestly, they're just going to trade towers. So kind of worth it. I think that HellRaisers is responding to this really effectively, considering the amount of pressure that's been leveled against these supports.
If you're behind and you could trade evenly, then you're going to be feeling pretty good about your game, but still the Enchantress is getting a scary amount of farm, and Dread is actually last hitting pretty decently, even though he can't do it in that safe lane as he wants to. It still has a decent amount of CS. Sonic Wave will miss Metro, and for Axmo, he's feeling pretty bad about that one, but here comes the Haunt. They'll get the kill in the end with the Queen of Pain. Axmo, however, is completely out of mana. Snowball is coming in. Goddamn, and Dread will get hit with the field. However, the Warlock Golem is not getting hit with the field, and he'll just walk right through that. Queen of Pain down, beaten down by the Golem. That's going to be the death of the Queen of Pain, and should also be the death of this tier 1 tower. Now, this tower is not going to be traded. Power Rangers don't have a trade in sight. They may just lose this one. The Warlock's power really starting to show through here, and the trade of just Winter Wyvern for Queen of Pain already very much so worth it for the HellRaisers side.
But this is an invised up Enchantress here, and if they're able to get some type of lockdown with the Witch Doctor tossing out that cask, I feel like they're going to be able to do a heck of a lot of damage. The Disruptor is here as well. He's got Static Storm up. They're going to be able to maybe get a couple of kills here. Warlock taking a good amount of damage. There's the Static Storm lay down. Doesn't actually hit on top of anybody, though. The Anti-Mage is silenced ever so slightly. Now going to be able to Shadow Word on top of the Enchantress as well. The body blocks are trying to happen as well, but I don't think it's going to end up being enough. Bigdom getting chased down as well by the Ion Shell. Oh, are they going to be able to actually turn this around? Goddamn, falling low. He's going to end up going down to the Enchantress. Now Souch goes well on the Darkseer. Going to try and TP away, but the damage is just too much. Double kill now for the Queen of Pain. Another turnaround here. Again, an absolute devastation. This Enchantress is just dealing so much freaking damage with Impetus.
And there's just not enough magic burst damage from HellRaisers to kill her off, to answer her. She did drop fairly low in that fight, granted. That's because there were Ion Shells she got with the Snowball Shards, I think, also ran through her as well. But now she's going to go for her Aghanim Scepter, and the scary part of this item is not the increased range, it's not the damage you deal with Impetus, even though that is definitely a thing, it's the fact that she'll just naturally be able to mitigate her weakness in that she's a very soft hero. Having the point booster, having now the strength tread, she's already at 1000 HP, soon an Ogre Club is going to be picked up as well, and then how do you kill off this Enchantress? You have to burst her down. I feel like if there is no Warlock Golem being dropped on this Enchantress, she just will not die unless there's like double Ion Shell, Anti-Mage with the BKB, which is a pretty good counter to the Untouchable of Enchantress, but that's a hell of a long ways away, and I disconnect again. Good. I was
Awesome.
just getting comfortable in that game. I need to see this gray screen again.
Oh no, disaster strikes yet again. Cheshire Cat on this hero has just been making it really play. I'm curious if this is going to end up seeing more play in the game, because you take a look at what the supports were. Like, a Darkseer Winter Wyvern is a pretty formidable matchup, and I kind of feel like they just took this pick here in a vacuum almost and felt like it was perfectly fine to be able to do. And honestly, I don't really see any significant problems with it. You're making a ton of space for your safe lane farmer, and with the Spectre there already about a third of the way towards the Radiance, she has a Haunt, she has an Urn as well. She's starting to save up that money, and I think that they're going to be able to come on over and try and fight up here in the top lane. We do see 4 heroes on up top here. Anti-Mage the only one not being in the area for HellRaisers, and now the Disruptor as well as the Witch Doctor coming on in, taking a lot of damage. The Warlock is going to end up getting tossed on back again. He is able to get out the Golem as well. Bignum trying to run away from the Snowballed in Tusk, but now we have Tron as well, going to be able to deal a ton of damage on top of Metrum here. The Winter Wyvern tried to keep his buddy alive a little bit longer, but the pure damage is going to end up going through from the Impetus as well. Spectre ends up getting a double kill here at 12 minutes into the game. Witch Doctor ulti ends up getting channeled as well. That's a double kill for the Enchantress. Only hero left alive is going to be the Anti-Mage, and he was not even at that fight. The Queen of Pain dropping really low, but not killed.
I'll take your word for it.
Oh god!
Sounds like it was a pretty
gentlemen.
good fight for the Dire. That's all I can say, man.
It's gonna be a 2,200 gold swing into their favor. Oh, and I actually disconnect as well. Oh my god, Dota 2, what are you doing to us?
You know,
Man,
it
oh,
sucks
man.
that we're both disconnected, but it kind of makes me feel better if someone else is also having these problems. Just like solidarity or something, like
Yeah.
whatever. At least you guys got to hear what happened in that fight. It sounded pretty good.
Probably they're gonna push it. Maybe we should try and think about what they could do. That could be a pretty fun game as well. Maybe they're all gonna 5-man mid, and then we're gonna move into the next game, and we won't disconnect. That's a possibility.
Do you know the ending kill score before you disconnected? Ballpark?
Well, I just reconnected as well, 2-12, in favor of the Dire. That's pretty freaking significant.
Okay,
It's a
well,
4K
I was
net
gonna
worth
say
it.
like we could guess the score when we reconnected in, but apparently you're reconnecting and I'm just not. I'm gonna have to restart Dota. I guess radio.
Radio Dota, here
I'm
we
sorry,
go.
guys. I can't do anything about this.
It's all good. We're going back into the Dark Ages here. Tron on the Spectre has been able to pick on up 2,300 gold in the bank, so working towards that relic. He's able to get complete and total free farm. It does look like the Radiant want to try and rotate a few heroes to be able to deal with him, but the Disruptor is just sitting right behind him the entire time and is going to be able to lay down a Static Storm or a Glimpse or anything they want to be able to keep the Spectre alive. It doesn't look like they're going to be able to get a kill unless they rotate a ton of heroes over to be able to make it happen. And honestly, now the Witch Doctor on the Dire is going to try and wrap around and make something happen. 2 heroes are going to jump on into the Static Storm, immediately dropped by the Disruptor. Haunt Puck comes out as well. They're going to try and snowball to stay alive a little bit longer, but that's going to be on top of the Disruptor. Goddamn, dropping down the wall, not going to be enough. Anti-Mage shows up. Sonic Wave on top of 2 yet again. Double kill again for the Spectre, and now Dread is going to end up falling as well. The Anti-Mage ends up going down to the Queen of Pain. So the Radiant rather end up losing the Tusk, the Darkseer, and the Anti-Mage, while they only lose a Disruptor in turn. And now this is going to be able to finish off Spectre's Relic in just a second, which looks to be about a 16 to 17 minute Relic. Really, really effective. And I feel like once you end up getting to this stage in the game, how dangerous is it to be able to pick up that early Radiance on the Spectre?
You know, most of the time we see Spectres, like, scramble to get their Radiance gold up. They get it, like, 22 minutes, something like that. Getting it and being ahead on Spectre is something we very rarely see, simply because the enemy team is supposed to be able to apply pressure to that Spectre. That's clearly just not happening right now. Losing the Disruptor is no big deal for the Power Ranger side. Like, they actually just don't care about that at all. I don't think the Enchantress was actually involved in that fight. It seemed like she was on the bottom lane, but Spectre had a 5-0-4 score last I checked. So, yeah, that's so much further than any Spectre should be. Granted, she was in a lane where there were no lane opponents, so 1v0, getting a whole bunch of kills, getting a whole bunch of CS, you're going to be feeling pretty good about your game, and hey, look, I came right back in, guys. We're getting the hang of this, but Relic being up is just so much more difficult for the Radiant side right now. The Anti-Mage, to be fair, is closing in on his Battle Fury, also has that headdress, so Battle Fury Vlad's going to be coming. But it's not really the Anti-Mage who has to worry about this. It's everyone else. Speaking of everyone else, it's going to be bottom lane where they're going to try to go for the Enchantress, but the Walrus Punch just can't come out. She dodges the drop, and now she's just going to go for the kill with the Death Ward being there as well. She's just not dying. Goddamn's going to try again for the Walrus Punch, but she can't get it off because of the Untouchable. And AFK is just walking all over these heroes. They now have the Haunt. Are they going to jump in? Oh, it's Dread who's actually going to teleport down to the bottom lane. Reality, not available any longer. J4 has no glimpse. The Golem is actually going to chunk down really hard by the Enchantress. But, Jesus, I didn't know that the Untouchable was that strong to, like, block out Walrus Punch. That just seems stupid. Axel's going to run into Dread right now. Has no Sonic Wave for 5 seconds. Will blink forward. A couple more right clicks. 3 seconds away from a Sonic Wave. However, Dread should have a blink by then. Axel is going to look to get vision up on the high ground. Oh, blink. They'll trade places, and that means that the Queen of Pain now going to take the Walrus Punch. Now has to leave 1 second away from the blink. They're going to try to bottle. Gets vacuumed back. Does blink out of there, but into the tower. The buckler from J4 is not going to save her ass, and she will die. J4 will teleport out of there. Queen of Pain to fall. I guess this does confirm Enchantress is a better hero than Queen of Pain.
Pretty much. I think that's what we can really take away from this game at this point in time. She also finished off her Agnum Scepter, and like you saw there, she has no fear. Like, she is just going to be able to run away from the Tusk. No Walrus Punch is going to be able to hit her. That ended up being, I think, the change that happened, I want to say a patch or two ago, where you ended up having the minimum distance for the auto attacks of melee heroes to be able to get reduced down. So she's able to actually run away from that Tusk before he's able to land the punch, and I think that it's 300 units is what it is. I actually disconnect out in this time, so a little bit better that, you know, people are going to be able to see what's happening in the game this time around.
Don't say that, man. I'm not feeling too good about this. The Enchantress, though, has her Agnum Scepter, and clearly she has enough survivability right now. As this Enchantress, you can actually go for whatever item you like. I think a threat item is definitely better since she's clearly not dying, but aside from Agnum Scepter getting a little bit more attack speed, maybe perhaps a Shiva's Guard for additional blast of damage there, the Enchantress's options are so open right now, and she doesn't even have to get any items, honestly, because the Spectre's doing so well. Now has the 19-minute Radiance completed, not just a naked Radiance rush. She's got the Power Tread, she has the Urn, so this Spectre is ready to go and has, you know, gone for all this smaller luxury items as well, not to mention the fact that Queen of Pain also has her Agnum Scepter, and there's a mechanism on the Disruptor. Everything is coming up Power Rangers right now. They're going to try to go for Roshan. Without the Enchantress there right now, it's going to take a little while longer, but an Untouchable up against Roshan is, like, really stupid. Like, you couldn't Walrus Punch her. Well, Roshan's going to be doing next to nothing. The damage output towards Roshan is not super high, but sooner or later they'll bring him down. And for HellRaisers, I don't really know what they need right now. I mean, they have a Hand of Midas on the Warlock. That is a big item. It lets you get your Agnum Scepter, lets you get your level 2 ultimate, which is, by the way, now up on the Warlock. They may just have to resort more and more to this wombo combo type play where they have the vacuum, where they have the rock drop, maybe get a couple of fatal bond points for the Warlock, because that is health removal, I believe. It does cut right through the Enchantress's health pool, and it is in theory, a pretty good way of dealing with her.
Yeah, you don't hit her, you hit her friends, and that's a pretty cool combo right there. It's a nice little way to do it. I honestly, I'm just sort of completely and totally baffled by this pick and the way that it's been able to work so effectively. Like, I'm wondering, they were able to second pick this. I was thinking about it and comparing it to a Huskar, which you normally have to pick up late, and I just feel like it's so strong. There's not really a great answer to it. I feel like Queen of Pain is the main one. Dread here is going to end up finding Tron in the top lane, and he's got some backup here as well. We've got a Phona here off to the side on the Warlock. Does not have the Aghanim Scepter up yet, but the level 2 ulti certainly would be able enough to kill Tron off to the side with the Invis Rune. They're waiting for their initiation moment, but 4 heroes up top here. They really want to be able to catch the Spectre if they possibly can, as I crash.
Well, Tron does have the Aegis, so dying once not a big deal. She's going to haunt out. They get the Static Storm onto Dread right now. The Rock drops only onto J4. He has a mech, so he should be fine. They're going to curse up AFK, but he's not taking any damage from that. Sonic Wave now onto 3. No one's going to die just, but the impetuses are flying. Affinage and Darkseer to fall, and now the Golem's also going to be cleaned up by Power Rangers. It's again a 1-for-3 trade. I've seen this trade before. Disruptor is expendable, completely expendable for Power Rangers. That was the Warlock ultimate use. That was a wall vacuum use. That was a curse onto the Enchantress that literally did nothing to her, since she was able to get those impetuses out at the end of it with her insane attack range. You know, Dread's now going to try to chase down for Bignum, who's still in this bottom lane for some reason. He should be able to get this kill if he really wants to. He's instead going to bail out of there. Dread is doing an extremely good job in this game. Like, considering how many threats there are on Power Rangers, the fact that he is still keeping up neck and neck in net worth with this Spectre is certainly admirable. The problem is that no one else is really anywhere close. The Darkseer has his mech, which is nice. Warlock, as I said, has Hand of Midas, so his scaling farm is definitely there, but for Power Rangers, they're all just leading the way. And now it's Spectre actually going to get jumped again. Goddamn's going to try to snowball into Tron. However, this may put him up on the high ground. It will. So now he's stuck. He's also going to bring Affinage up on the high ground. Tron is going to walk out, lose his Aegis. And Metrum cannot kill the Spectre by herself. Goddam's going to throw some shards, which will, looks like trap Tron. That is actually a complete trap. That's kind of weird to see. But now Affinage and Goddamn are actually stuck here. They're going to snowball down. So at least they're not stuck up there for very long, but it's still so much commitment to kill off a Spectre's Aegis. And that's the Aegis's job. Bottom lane, in the meantime, lost his tier 2 tower. They're also spotting out Dread right now, who's just cutting the creep waves. These are desperation tactics coming out from this anti-mage, and I can't really blame him for it. He's being stock towered by a Disruptor who's really good up against these kind of tactics. Just needs to find line of sight. It's not going to happen just yet. 5-20 though, and Power Rangers are working with a super farm. Spectre has her Yasha completed, and an anti-mage is gonna have to do everything by himself. Should a Aghanim Scepter come up ever on J4, Dread is just completely screwed over, and hey, as soon as they start a fight, I disconnect now.
Yeah, I'm also disconnected, taking a look at the Skarath Mage's picture as well on the loading screen. Something that I'll mention real quickly about this sort of combo that you saw is that I feel like there's a bit of a disconnect in terms of the Radiance draft and what they're trying to do. You got Warlock, who wants to get these big ultimates out, Winter's Curse as well, all of these things, but then the Anti-Mage doesn't necessarily want to fight into these big team fights, and because of that, he's going to be trying to they're going to be making space for him to be able to farm, but they haven't really been able to translate that into a ton of tower kills. It's mainly just been the tier 1 up in the top there for the Dire that ended up going down, and I would love to see him be able to get more split pushing done, but while he did have 150 last hits there just recently, I think I saw on there, and his net worth has been catching up steadily, it's not really in a spot where he's going to be able to have that Manta up yet or be able to really accelerate into these other items that are going to help him take towers.
Like, the disconnect kind of comes down to, I think, the Warlock as the last pick being the, like, real hero that isn't really consistent there. I mean, like, Anti-Mage kind of, like, is the opposite of that, I suppose, but Warlock is a hero that does need a lot of time in between the ganks. Every gank that he participates in is going to be super devastating. He just drops the rock, it usually just gets a kill at the very least. But the cooldown is so high, the fact that you have Darkseer and Tusk and those types of heroes, Winter Wyvern, who always want to be fighting essentially since they just have lower cooldowns, means that the Warlock isn't able to join all that often. So like the kind of 4 protect 1 strategy that HellRaisers have gone for right now isn't really able to be active all the time, because the Warlock is just going to have natural dead times where he's just not able to cast his Chaotic Offering. I reconnected, but not really.
Okay, cool. A little bit of lag potentially going on. It's 25 minutes into the game now. Anti-Mage has been able to accelerate up to 200 last hits. It looks like we're going to see a push down here towards the bot lane. All five of the heroes are here for the Radiant, ready to potentially jump back into it again. And Tusk with his Shadow Blade up is going to be able to make something happen, but they're going to TP on out and instead try and make something happen with Tron off to the side. But he's just going to be able to dagger on off to the side there and TP away absolutely no problem, making sure he is safe and sound. Absolutely great. They're going to potentially find the Winter Wyvern over here, but I don't think that they're actually going to be able to get that kill probably.
Right, so like I'm in this game, but everyone's just moving in place.
I had that problem again also, and I had to do a quick little reconnect, and it didn't take as long as the other one, but not sure if it's going to end up happening. There's so many
I don't have any other options. I'm just going to have to reconnect again. Again, guys, so sorry about this. This has never been an issue before for me, ever. So, yeah,
we did just have an update as well. We just had an update that ended up coming out, and maybe that is causing a couple of little problems. There's been a lot of things with casters recently, so that's probably what's going on, and trying to sort everything out with Reborn, a little bit frustrating, but, you know, we're going to be able to potentially get a higher quality game at some point in time. That's the dream, at least, and, you know, dreams come true in Dota 2. That's what we really know about this game, and they also sometimes end up falling, but that's fine as well. Radio Dota-wise, it's looking a little bit static at this point. The score is 5-21 in terms of Power Rangers being a little bit further ahead. And Anti-Mage has been able to sort of consistently farm on up items. He's working towards, does actually have a Vladimir's Offering Battle Fury as well as an Ultimate Orb, so might be going into a Manta next, but hasn't been able to pick on up the Yasha quite yet. Meanwhile, Winter Wyvern, who was hanging out towards the bottom trying to dodge the gank, does end up getting killed by the Enchantress. And once you end up getting into a situation where you're not really able to run away from heroes anymore, like, it's just so scary. The movement speed advantage is ridiculous, and Enchantress actually looks to be building a sheep stick as well. So once that comes out, the damage that's coming out on top of the Anti-Mage, she's probably going to come close to solo killing on him, honestly. And it's such a crazy build that this has ended up working out for the Dire in their favor.
I'm just not reconnecting, so reports of fast reconnects were apparently exaggerated.
I'm sorry,
At
it's a
least from my
terrible
end.
decision. A big team fight down tier, the tier 2 in the Radiant side. That's going to be a jump forward already at the very beginning. The Dire were trying to force this fight. They're able to take on down the Warlock as well as the Winter Wyvern, and now they're going to be able to take the tier 2 yet again. There was a Sonic Wave tossed on out as well, able to take down the Anti-Mage, and now you're seeing the Tusk die as well, and it's a full team wipe. Godlike streak for the Spectre. Does already have her Manta up and Earn as well as Treads and a Radiance, and they're going to be able to take the tier 2 tower here, and looks like they might be able to go for more. There aren't any buybacks on the Radiant except for on the Winter Wyvern, and that seems like they're not really going to be able to push it on out at all. This is going to be the top barracks falling in just a second. Winter Wyvern does reconnect, trying to keep the tower off a little bit further. Enchantress has been able to pick up her sheepstick as well, but I think that at this point in time, the Dire are just going to feel comfortable taking out a barracks and then backing on out, or maybe even just leaving the tier 3 alone. It's kind of a little bit scary at this point. Tron has been able to keep pushing on the tower. It's getting a little bit lower.
She raised her team to take down the tier 3 tower and almost won. Like, what the hell? She's doing so much damage. Unfortunately, I came in right after the team fight, so everyone just saw the fact that everyone at HellRaisers was dead. But now we're in a situation where Power Rangers not only start ahead, but also have the items to back it up. Like, it's Sheepstick, as you said, on the Enchantress. What does Spectre have? Should have Manta Style and an extra Vit booster on top of that. Mechanism only still on the Disruptor, but hey, it seems like he's the only one to fall, and for Power Rangers, that's perfectly fine. Double Sheepstick, in fact, as Queen of Pain also has hers completed. Yeah, this is like a slideshow Dota. You get a snapshot here, a snapshot there, and you can see just overwhelmingly this game is going more and more in favor of Power Rangers. 15k in both Golden Experience. That's a disgusting amount of advantage for 30 minutes in.
Absolutely. It's ridiculous at this point in time, and there's not a whole heck of a lot that you can do to stop it here. I'm wondering if this was just a draft win based upon the fact that you had the Enchantress being able to apply all this pressure against a relatively weak laning Anti-Mage. Do you think that this is something that can be emulated further forward, and we're going to be seeing more offlane Enchantresses?
Well, I'm going to disconnect, so I can't see the offlane Enchantress right now, but the problem is I think it was the lack of initial response from HellRaisers. Was Lena picked up, banned out she should have been involved here if she was available for HellRaisers, but not picking her up is a big mistake. You need burst magic damage to deal with this Enchantress, and it seems like with Darkseer you don't get that burst damage. With Winter Wyvern you don't get it either. Splinter Blast is like whatever. Tusk has it sometimes, but I didn't realize Tusk can't Walrus Punch the Enchantress, so I mean, that's no burst damage coming out of that spell. And Anti-Mage has no burst damage either unless he's able to first drain out the Enchantress. That's just not going to happen without you dying first. If they have Alina, if they have a Sand King, an Earthshaker, really anyone who's able to just burst her down like Zeus Ogre Magi, then Enchantress just gets absolutely smashed, and there's nothing she can do about that. But in a situation where there is no burst magic damage, Untouchable is going to be just the best skill in the game.
Yeah, totally. And it's been able to really show itself there. We're still finding pickoffs consistently across the map. Honestly, Spectre is just ulting at random points and able to find pickoffs across the map because there's a couple of heroes that are just a little bit spread out. There is going to be a 4-man smoke on through the jungle trying to see if they can find somebody. They find the Queen of Pain, but she's just going to be able to blink away. And all of a sudden, that smoke that you had is just not going to do anything. They're pushing on over as well to the side here. Untouchable up on the Roche. Do they end up finding anybody off to the side? Goddamn, ends up getting revealed there by the Sentry Ward. That's a sheep stick up, but he's still invisible from that Shadow Blade, so should just be able to walk away now. Hello? All right, well, we have apparently disconnected from the call as well.
Oh, no, there we go. We're back. I got it. I'm in. I have to like keep on muting my mic because I don't want to like just sit here while you're, whatever. We're good. That's what I mean to say. And they had the glimpse up on the Disruptor, but you just didn't cast it. I don't know why he didn't. Either way, they clean up the Roshan, grab the Aegis. Now Spectre has that much extra cash. Has the Reaver, so Hard Trask is just a stone's throw away. And ooh, Mask of Madness on Enchantress. Minor amounts of lifesteal. Who knows if that's going to be relevant in this game. She's going to run into Goddamn. If you can Walrus Punch out of Shadow Blade, maybe you catch Enchantress standing still, maybe you actually land that ultimate. But I don't really know if this is going to really prove useful for Goddamn. The intel is certainly nice, but when the enemy team is just 5-manning your base, intel doesn't really matter all that much.
And honestly, at this point, Enchantress has more HP than Tusk does, which is disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. 1,500 to 1,000 right now, and they honestly can just push down any of these lanes, regardless of whatever the hell is going on. Oh, catches on top of the Warlock. He's going to take a lot of damage. Does get coldly embraced as well. The heal is coming out from the Enchantress. She's going to be able to stay alive a lot longer. Trying to turn around again. Tusk taking a ton of damage. That's going to be a decent Splinter Blast out one more time. There's another Sheep Stick tossed on out on top of the Darkseer. Carla maybe going to be able to make something happen here with the Warlock ulti coming out, the Aghanim Scepter as well. They're going to be able to make it happen. There's the Haunt as well, though. Sonic Storm as well as the Sonic Wave. J4 going down off to the side. Death Ward channeled in full effect as well. And now the Anti-Mage isn't just going to be able to fight against this. Honestly, they do lose the Enchantress, but to what end? They did also lose the Darkseer on the Radiant. Warlock ends up killing the Disruptor, so a nice team fight here for HellRaisers.
Sure sounded like it. As soon as that fight started, I saw the curse, and that's all I saw. So, yeah, is it game?
No, not game. The Enchantress ended up going down. It was a buyback back by the Tusk, and it's going to be a 800 gold swing into the favor of the Radiant. So they end up holding there, but it cost them everything. They lost the Darkseer. They had to use the wall. They had to use the Warlock ulti. And now, considering that the big teamfight ultimates on the Dire side aren't as long of a cooldown, it's going to mean that you're going to be able to probably reinitiate before the Warlock ulti is back on up in line again, because the Warlock isn't anywhere near close to being able to pick on up a Refresher or anything else like that, and it's 100 seconds at this point in time, and they still have the Aegis up on the spec as well, so they're in a really, really good spot. It is worth noting that with the Manta Heart, she is still lacking a little bit of damage relative to what you sometimes see with the Spectre. So maybe going to try and farm on up another item. Does jump forward onto the Winter Wyvern here. She's tossing out the dagger. Going to be able to Manta in a second. Is going to get a little bit of vision off to the side here. Metrum is just going to end up falling as soon as she ends up coming out from that Glimmer Cape, and that's a dead Winter Wyvern.
Pure damage from Desolate. Doesn't care about your Embrace. That was a really awkward moving back and forth there for the Wyvern, but I don't really know if there was an escape available there anyway. They at least find out HellRaisers. Oh, god damn it. This is just stupid. They find out that the Enchantress is mortal. They kill her off once, right? And that's just, part one to killing her off, shutting her down in the game. But it looks like a push was actually brewing on the bottom lane.
Yeah, they were
And
able to
I'm
push it
pretty
on in
sure it's going to
here.
be one that's tough to handle because the Warlock ultimate should not be up right now.
Yeah, Warlock just actually got killed. He was able to get glimpsed on back into a static storm, and he ends up falling there before he's able to toss out the ulti, which he didn't have for another 30 seconds anyways. The bottom barracks is going down now in a second as well. They're inside their base with the creeps. Tier 3 top has already been taken out. It looks like they're moving over towards the Tier 3 in the mid lane. That's a Shiva's Guard coming on out from the Queen of Pain. Gonna try and deal a lot of damage. The Tusk ends up getting blown up by a Sonic Wave as well as Impetus, and now we're seeing Salcho as well trying to get chased on in. Ends up getting turned into a sheep as well. The mid barracks are starting to fall again. Witch Doctor able to take out the mid tier 3 tower. That's going to be a ranged barracks falling. That's a melee barracks falling as well. They're moving on up towards the top one. This is about to be mega creeps, and you've got 2 heroes dead for HellRaisers. All heroes still online for Power Rangers. That's going to be a 4-man vacuum wall. Nicely done there. The Anti-Mage is in the middle of all of it, but the Queen of Pain able to blink away one more time again. That's going to be a Guardian Greaves, keep him alive a little bit longer. Witch Doctor ulti channeling as well. Enchantress able to take out the Anti-Mage though, and that's a pigged up Winter Wyvern. Not going to be able to do as much as you would want to. Cold Embrace, not sure if it's going to be enough. Sonic Wave ends up taking her on out. GG ends up getting called, and I saw that you caught the end of it at least.
Everyone was mostly dead already, but got it on camera, I guess. Oh, jeez, that was... I'm sure it was a great game for Power Rangers, and if I was able to watch it, I would know for sure, but... yeah, it's a win for them, so obviously they're going to be happy with that. 12-0-14, 12-2-10, the Spectre and the Queen of Pain. The Enchantress off lane, absolutely dominating her lane, like not only winning her lane, but crushing it underfoot. Hopefully these issues are not going to persist. I think it's a Dota side server issue since I'm still streaming just fine. I can access all my websites, so that shouldn't be a problem. But
the players were also disconnecting as well throughout the
yeah.
courses. I saw a couple of the other spectators dropping out from occasionally as well, so it seems to be a server issue.
Right, I'm sure someone on Dota Reddit or whatever is gonna say like, oh, can't find games on Lux or whatever, because we are on Lux right now. Maybe we have to go to Stock or something like that. But either way, it's going to be an even 1-1 series split between these two teams, HellRaisers and Power Rangers. A decisive game too. We are not done yet, guys. Far from it. We got CIS Reject going up against Enso in the next game. Should be happening very shortly, and hopefully, fingers crossed, no issues. Good luck to Enso for that one. CIS Rejects have been on a pretty heavy tear. Guys, I'm Mikelorus. I've been joined by Lyrical Gangster. I would understand if you didn't enjoy this game, but if you did, be sure to stick around for the next one. Follow us on Twitter at Mikelorus, at Lyrical Gangster with a 3 instead of an E. It's all on the screen right now, and we'll be right back for the next game.